Welcome, fellow history enthusiasts, to another captivating chapter of ancient tales. Today we delve into the intriguing story of Jacob and Laban, a saga of family ties, love, deception, and resilience. Join us as we journey through the land of the East, where Jacob's life takes an unexpected turn upon meeting the shepherdess Rachel and her father, Laban. Witness the trials and triumphs that unfold in this mesmerizing narrative. Jacob and Laban. Jacob continued his journey and arrived in the land of the East. Suddenly, he looked and saw a well in the field, and around it were 3 shepherds, each with their sheep and goats. The water for the animals was drawn from that well, which was covered with a large stone. When all the shepherds gathered there with their animals, they would remove the stone to give water to the sheep and goats. Then they would put the stone back at the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, "Where are you from, my friends?" They replied, "We are from Haran." Then he asked them, "Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor?" They answered, "Yes, we know him." Jacob inquired, "Is he doing well?" They replied, "Yes, he is doing well. Look, his daughter Rachel is coming with the sheep." Upon seeing Rachel, who was a shepherdess, approaching with her father Laban's sheep and goats, Jacob went and removed the stone from the well and gave water to the animals. Afterward he kissed Rachel, and overcome with emotion began to cry. He said, "I am related to your father. I am the son of Rebekah." Rachel hurried to tell her father everything. Laban heard the news about his nephew and rushed out to meet Jacob. When he found Jacob, Laban embraced him, kissed him, and brought him to his house. Jacob recounted all that had happened, and then Laban said, "Indeed, you are of my own flesh and blood." Jacob stayed at his uncle's house for a whole month. Then Laban said, "It's not right for you to work for me for free just because you're my relative. How much do you want to be paid?" Laban had 2 daughters. The older one was named Leah, and the younger one was Rachel. Leah had gentle eyes, but Rachel was beautiful in face and form. Since Jacob was in love with Rachel, he replied, "I will work for you for 7 years to marry Rachel." Laban said, "I prefer to give her to you rather than to a stranger. Stay here with me." So Jacob worked 7 years to earn Rachel as his wife. But because he loved her, those years seemed like only a few days to him. When the 7 years were completed, Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. The agreed time has passed, and I want to marry her." Laban threw a wedding feast and invited everyone from the area. However, on that night, Laban deceived Jacob and gave him Leah instead of Rachel, and Jacob had relations with her. Laban had given his slave Zilpah to Leah to be her servant. It was only the next morning that Jacob realized he had slept with Leah. So he confronted Laban and said, "Why did you do this to me? I worked to be with Rachel. Why did you deceive me?" Laban replied, "Here in our land, it's not customary for the younger daughter to marry before the older one. Wait until the wedding week is over. Then, if you promise to work for me for another 7 years, I will give you Rachel." Jacob agreed, and when Leah's wedding week ended, Laban gave his daughter Rachel to Jacob as his wife. Laban had given his slave Bilhah to Rachel to be her servant. Jacob also had relations with Rachel, and he loved Rachel much more than Leah. He continued working for Laban for another 7 years. When the Lord God saw that Jacob favored Rachel, he made Leah able to have children, but Rachel couldn't conceive. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son, whom she named Reuben. She explained, "The Lord has seen my affliction, and now my husband will love me." Leah became pregnant again and had another son, whom she named Simeon. She said, "The Lord has heard that I am despised, so he has given me this son too." Leah became pregnant yet again and had another son, whom she named Levi, saying, "Now my husband will become attached to me because I have borne him 3 sons. Leah became pregnant once more and had another son, whom she named Judah, declaring, "This time I will praise the Lord God." After that, she had no more children. When Rachel saw that she couldn't have children, she envied her sister Leah and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or I'll die." Jacob became angry with Rachel and said, "Am I in the place of God who has withheld children from you?" Then Rachel said, "Here is my servant Bilhah. Have relations with her, and she will bear children for me. Through her I will also have a family." So Rachel gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as his concubine, and he had relations with her. Bilhah became pregnant and gave Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has vindicated me and has heard my prayer, giving me a son." Bilhah became pregnant again and gave Jacob another son. Then Rachel said, "I have struggled fiercely with my sister, and I have won." When Leah realized that she would not have any more children, she gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob as his concubine. Zilpah gave Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "What good fortune," and named the boy Gad. Later, Zilpah gave Jacob another son, and Leah said, "I am happy, for the women will call me blessed." So she named the boy Asher. One day, during the wheat harvest, Reuben went out into the fields and found some mandrakes, which he brought to his mother, Leah. When Rachel saw this, she said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." Leah replied, "Is it not enough that you took my husband from me? Now you also want to take the mandrakes my son found?" Then Rachel said, "Let's make a deal. You can have the mandrakes, and in return, I'll let you sleep with Jacob tonight." In the evening, when Jacob came in from the fields, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You must come to me tonight, for I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." That night Jacob slept with Leah. God heard Leah's prayer, and she became pregnant again, giving Jacob a fifth son. So Leah named him Issachar, saying, "God has rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband." Leah became pregnant for the sixth time and gave Jacob another son, whom she named Zebulun, saying, "God has presented me with a precious gift. Now my husband will honor me, for I have borne him 6 sons." Later she had a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. He heard her prayer and made it possible for her to have children. Rachel became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and she said, "God has taken away my disgrace. May the Lord give me another son." So she named him Joseph. After the birth of Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Let me go back to my homeland with my wives and children, for I have worked for you and served you faithfully." Laban replied, "Please stay with me. I have learned by divination that the Lord has blessed me because of you. Tell me what wages you want, and I will pay it." Jacob said, "You know how I have worked for you, and how your livestock has flourished under my care. The little you had before I came has grown exponentially, and the Lord has blessed you wherever I have been. Now it is time for me to provide for my own family." Laban asked, "What can I give you as wages?" Jacob replied, "I don't want wages. Instead, let me go through your flock today and remove all the speckled and spotted goats, as well as all the black lambs. These will be my wages. In the future, you will be able to verify if I have been honest. If you find any goats or lambs in my flock that are not speckled, spotted, or black, then you will know that I have not taken them." Laban agreed, saying, "It shall be as you have said." However, on that same day, Laban removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, all the female goats that were speckled and spotted, everyone that had some white on them, and all the black lambs. He entrusted these to his sons and put a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob. As a result, Jacob took care of the rest of Laban's flocks. So Jacob took fresh branches of poplar, almond, and plane trees and peeled white streaks in them, exposing the white of the branches. He set the peeled branches in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, facing the flocks when they came to drink, so that they would mate by the branches. Thus, the flocks produced young that were streaked, speckled, and spotted. Then Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the streaked and all the black in the flock of Laban. He put his own droves apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Moreover, whenever the stronger animals were mating, Jacob would place the branches in the sight of the animals in the watering troughs so that they might mate by the branches. But when the flock was feeble, he would not put the branches in. So the feebler were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. Thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female and male servants, camels, and donkeys. Jacob noticed that Laban's attitude toward him had changed. Then the Lord said to Jacob, "Go back to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you." So Jacob called Rachel and Leah to the field where his flocks were, and said to them, "I have observed your father's attitude toward me, and he has deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God has not allowed him to harm me. If he said, 'The speckled ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks would bear speckled offspring. And if he said, 'The streaked ones will be your wages,' then all the flocks would bear streaked offspring. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me." During the mating season I had a dream, and I saw that the male goats that were mating were streaked, speckled, and spotted. And in the dream, the angel of God said to me, "Jacob," and I said, "Here I am." Then he said, "Look up and see that all the male goats mating with the flock are streaked, speckled, or spotted, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and made a vow to me." Now leave this land and return to your native land." Rachel and Leah answered, "Do we still have any share in the inheritance of our father's estate? Does he not regard us as foreigners? Not only has he sold us, but he has also entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. So do whatever God has told you to do." Then Jacob put his children and wives on camels and led away all his livestock and all the possessions he had acquired in Paddan Aram to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. When Laban had gone to shear his sheep, Rachel stole her father's household gods, and Jacob deceived Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he intended to flee. So he fled with all that he had, and arose and crossed the Euphrates, and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. 3 days later, Laban was informed that Jacob had fled. So he took his kinsmen with him and pursued him for 7 days, catching up with him in the hill country of Gilead. But that night God appeared to Laban the Aramean in a dream and warned him, "Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad." Laban caught up with Jacob in the hill country of Gilead, where Jacob had set up camp. Laban and his relatives also camped there. Laban said to Jacob, "Why did you deceive me and take my daughters as if they were captives of war? Why did you deceive me and leave without telling me? I would have sent you away with joy and singing to the sound of tambourines and harps. But you did not even let me kiss my grandchildren and daughters goodbye. What you have done was foolish. I have the power to harm you, but last night the God of your father spoke to me and warned me, 'Be careful not to say anything to Jacob, either good or bad.' I know that you left because you longed to go back to your father's home, but why did you steal my household gods?" Jacob answered, "I was afraid, thinking you might take your daughters from me by force. But if you find anyone here with your gods, that person shall not live. In the presence of our relatives, see for yourself whether there is anything of yours with me, and if so, take it." Now Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the gods. So Laban went into Jacob's tent, then into Leah's tent, and then into the tent of the 2 female servants, but he found nothing. After he had searched through everything, he came out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Rachel had taken the household gods and put them inside her camel's saddle, and she was sitting on them. Laban searched through everything in the tent but did not find them. Rachel said to her father, "Do not be angry, my lord, that I cannot stand up in your presence. I am having my period." So Laban continued his search, but he did not find the household gods. Jacob became angry and challenged Laban. "What is my crime?" he asked. "What sin have I committed that you have hunted me down? Now that you have searched through all my goods, what have you found that belongs to your household? Put it here in front of your relatives and mine, and let them decide between us. For 20 years I have served you, and during that time your sheep and goats never miscarried. In all those years I never brought you a torn animal. I bore the loss myself. If an animal was killed by wild beasts, I did not bring it to you. I absorbed the loss myself. You made me pay for every stolen animal, whether it was taken in broad daylight or in the dark of night. I worked in scorching heat and through cold and sleepless nights. It was like this for 20 years. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, had not been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen my hardship and the toil of my hands, and he rebuked you last night." Laban replied to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, and the flocks are my flocks. Everything you see is mine. Yet what can I do today about these daughters of mine or the children they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it serve as a witness between us." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then he said to his relatives, "Gather some stones." They took stones and made a heap, and they ate there by the heap. Laban called it Jagar Sahadutha, while Jacob called it Gilead. Laban said, "This heap is a witness between you and me today." That is why it was called Gilead. It was also called Mizpah, for he said, "May the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters, or if you take any wives besides my daughters, even though no one is with us, remember that God is a witness between you and me." Then Laban said to Jacob, "See this heap and this pillar that I have set up between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap and this pillar to me, for harm. The God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, will judge between us." So Jacob made a vow in the name of the fear of his father Isaac. He offered a sacrifice there on the hillside and invited his relatives to eat a meal. Afterward, they spent the night there. Early in the morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. Lessons. 1. Love's longing and deception's sting. Jacob's unwavering love for Rachel led him to labor for 7 years to marry her, only to be deceived by Laban and given Leah instead. This tale reminds us of the power of love's longing and the consequences of deceit, urging us to value honesty and open communication in our relationships. 2. Sibling rivalry and jealousy. The story showcases the complexities of sibling relationships, as Rachel and Leah's rivalry for Jacob's affection led to challenging circumstances. It teaches us the importance of nurturing positive sibling dynamics and embracing empathy and compassion. 3. The blessings and challenges of family. Jacob's life journey amidst Laban's household highlights the blessings and challenges that come with family bonds. From the joys of parenthood to the struggles of parental favoritism, the tale encourages us to cherish family relationships while addressing conflicts with wisdom and understanding. 4. Faith and providence. Throughout Jacob's journey, faith and divine providence play a significant role. God's presence and guidance offer hope and protection amidst trials, reminding us to trust in something greater than ourselves during life's uncertainties. 5. Embracing reconciliation. The story concludes with a remarkable encounter between Jacob and Laban, where reconciliation and understanding prevail. This lesson urges us to seek resolution and reconciliation in our own lives, fostering peace and healing where possible. As we conclude this enthralling saga of Jacob and Laban, we are left with a tapestry of emotions and valuable life lessons. From the pursuit of love to the complexities of family relationships, this story resonates across time and culture. Join us in the next installment, where we continue our journey through the annals of ancient history, uncovering more tales of wisdom and intrigue. Until then, let us learn from Jacob's resilience, Rachel's determination, and Laban's lessons, and may we approach life with openness, understanding, and the pursuit of lasting reconciliation. Stay tuned for the next captivating chapter of biblical stories.